The skies above New York City turned an eerie shade of gray as a massive object descended from the heavens. It was unlike anything anyone had ever seen before. A sleek, metallic ship that shimmered like liquid silver under the dim sunlight. The air buzzed with energy, and the ground trembled slightly as the vessel hovered over the city. People froze in their tracks, staring upward with wide eyes, unsure whether to feel awe or fear. Daniel Harper stood on the rooftop of a NASA research building, his heart pounding in his chest. He had spent years studying the stars, dreaming of the day humanity would make contact with extraterrestrial life. But now that it was happening, he felt unprepared. Beside him, Claire Mitchell adjusted her coat, her sharp green eyes scanning the horizon. She was a diplomat, known for her calm demeanor and quick thinking. If anyone could handle this situation, it was her. "They're here," Daniel said softly, more to himself than to Claire. His voice carried a mix of excitement and nervousness. Claire nodded but didn't respond immediately. Instead, she pulled out her phone and sent a quick message to the United Nations headquarters. "We need to be ready," she muttered. "This isn't just about science anymore. This is diplomacy." As the alien ship lowered itself gently onto Central Park's great lawn, a hush fell over the city. Cars stopped in the streets, and people gathered in crowds, pointing and whispering. The ship's surface seemed to ripple, almost alive, as if it were made of flowing water instead of metal. Then, without warning, a section of the hull slid open, revealing a group of beings stepping into the daylight. They were tall, humanoid figures with elongated limbs and smooth, featureless faces. Their skin glowed faintly, shifting between shades of blue and purple. They moved with grace, their steps silent despite their height. At the center of the group stood one figure who radiated authority. His presence commanded attention, even though no words had been spoken yet. Commander Vrax, as he later identified himself, communicated not with sound, but directly into the minds of those around him. His voice was deep and resonant, echoing in Daniel's thoughts. "We are representatives of the Deathworld Alliance," Vrax announced. "Your application for membership has been reviewed and rejected." A ripple of shock passed through the small assembly of humans gathered near the ship. Daniel clenched his fists, trying to stay composed. Rejected? How could they reject Earth without even visiting? But before he could say anything, Claire stepped forward, her expression calm and professional. "Commander Vrax," she began, her tone polite but firm, "may I ask why our application was denied?" Vrax tilted his head slightly, as though considering her question. "Your planet does not meet our criteria," he replied. "The Deathworld Alliance accepts only species originating from worlds classified as extreme or hostile. Your environment appears stable. Your challenge is minimal. You lack the resilience required for membership." Daniel felt a surge of frustration. Minimal challenges? Had these aliens ever heard of hurricanes, earthquakes, or pandemics? Before he could interject, Claire raised a hand to silence him. She turned back to Vrax, her smile unwavering. "With all due respect, Commander," she said, "you've underestimated us. Humanity has faced countless trials throughout history, and we've survived. We adapt. We overcome. If you'll allow us, we'd like to prove it to you." For a moment, there was silence. Vrax studied Claire intently, his glowing form unmoving. Finally, he spoke again. "Very well. We will observe your species under controlled conditions. If you can demonstrate the qualities we seek, we may reconsider your application." Relief washed over Daniel, though he knew this was only the beginning. Controlled conditions? What did that mean? Would they stage disasters? Wars? Whatever it was, he suspected it wouldn't be easy. As the aliens returned to their ship, leaving the humans to process what had just happened, Claire turned to Daniel. "We need to prepare," she said firmly. "This isn't just about proving ourselves, it's about showing them what makes us human." Daniel nodded, his mind racing. "I'll gather my team," he said. We'll analyze everything they do, try to anticipate their next move, and I'll coordinate with world leaders," Claire added. "If we're going to succeed, we'll need everyone working together." Over the next few hours, news of the alien arrival spread across the globe. Social media exploded with videos and photos of the shimmering ship, while governments scrambled to respond. In living rooms, classrooms, and offices, people watched live broadcasts, holding their breath as commentators speculated about what might happen next. Meanwhile, Samantha Brooks, a field medic stationed in Los Angeles, received an urgent call from NASA. Within minutes, she was packing her gear, unsure of where she was headed, but knowing it was important. Sam had always been drawn to danger zones, helping others when chaos struck. Something told her this mission would be unlike anything she'd faced before. Back in New York, Daniel worked late into the night, poring over data and running simulations. He couldn't shake the feeling that the aliens' tests would push humanity to its limits. But he also believed they could rise to the occasion. After all, wasn't that what humans did best? As dawn broke over the city, the alien ship remained stationary in Central Park, a silent reminder of the challenge ahead. For better or worse, Earth's fate now rested in the hands of ordinary people, thrust into extraordinary circumstances. And somewhere deep within the ship, Commander Vrax observed silently, curious to see if these fragile beings truly possessed the strength they claimed. The next morning, the alien ship remained in Central Park, its shimmering surface reflecting the pale sunlight. Around it, the city buzzed with activity. News helicopters circled overhead, reporters shouted questions into cameras, and crowds gathered behind barricades, their faces a mix of curiosity and fear. Inside the park, Daniel Harper, Claire Mitchell, and a small group of scientists and diplomats prepared for what was coming next. Commander Vrax had promised to test humanity's resilience, but he hadn't explained how. The uncertainty weighed heavily on everyone. Daniel paced back and forth, his mind racing with possibilities. Would the aliens create storms, floods, or something even worse? Beside him, Claire stood with her arms crossed, her sharp eyes scanning the horizon. She was calm on the outside, but inside, she felt the same tension as everyone else. "We need to stay focused," Claire said finally, breaking the silence. Her voice was steady, though her words carried a note of urgency. "Whatever they throw at us, we'll handle it, together." Daniel nodded, though he wasn't entirely convinced. "I just hope we're ready," he muttered under his breath. Before anyone could respond, the air around them seemed to shift. A low hum filled the space, growing louder by the second. Then, without warning, the sky darkened. Thick clouds rolled in from every direction, blotting out the sun. Lightning crackled across the heavens, followed by deafening thunderclaps. Rain poured down in sheets, soaking everyone within seconds. "What's happening?" Someone shouted over the chaos. "It's them," Daniel replied, his voice barely audible. He turned to Claire. "They're testing us already." Claire didn't waste time panicking. She grabbed her phone and began making calls, coordinating emergency responses across the globe. This wasn't just New York, it was everywhere. Reports flooded in from other cities and countries. In Tokyo, a massive earthquake shook buildings to their foundations. In Rio de Janeiro, wildfires erupted along the edges of the rainforest. And in London, hurricane-force winds tore through the streets, uprooting trees and scattering debris. It was clear now. The aliens were simulating multiple natural disasters simultaneously, pushing humanity to its limits. But despite the destruction, people sprang into action. Emergency services mobilized quickly, volunteers rushed to help those in need, and neighbors banded together to protect one another. Even in the face of overwhelming odds, humanity refused to give up. Daniel worked tirelessly alongside his team, analyzing data and predicting patterns. They set up temporary shelters, distributed supplies, and used advanced algorithms to anticipate where the next disaster might strike. Every decision mattered, every second counted. Despite the pressure, Daniel found himself inspired by the determination of those around him. Among the heroes was Samantha Brooks, who had arrived in New York just in time to join the effort. Sam moved through the chaos like a force of nature. Herself, her medical bag slung over one shoulder. She climbed through rubble, waded through floodwaters, and braved collapsing structures to reach survivors. Her hands worked quickly, bandaging wounds and administering first aid with precision. When asked why she risked so much, she simply shrugged. "Because that's what we do," she said firmly. "We help each other. That's what makes us human." As the hours turned into days, the aliens watched silently from their ship. Commander Vrax observed everything: the panic, the cooperation, the sacrifices. He saw how humans adapted to changing circumstances, finding solutions when none seemed possible. Lieutenant Zira, one of Vrax's subordinates, expressed admiration for their efforts. "These creatures are more resourceful than I expected," Zira admitted during a private conversation with Vrax. "Their ability to work together is impressive." Vrax nodded slowly, though he remained cautious. "Impressive, yes. But resilience requires more than teamwork. Let us see how they fare under greater strain." On the third day, the simulations intensified. Volcanoes erupted in regions long thought dormant, spewing ash and lava into the skies. Tornadoes swept through rural towns, leaving devastation in their wake. Yet still, humanity persevered. Engineers devised innovative ways to stabilize crumbling infrastructure. Farmers shared food and water with communities cut off from supplies. Artists painted murals on damaged walls, turning ruins into symbols of hope. Claire played a crucial role in keeping global leaders united. She organized video conferences, urging presidents, prime ministers, and monarchs to put aside their differences and focus on survival. Some argued, others hesitated, but ultimately they listened. For the first time in history, every nation on Earth worked toward a common goal. Even Daniel, who often preferred numbers to people, found himself moved by what he witnessed. Late one night, after another exhausting day of calculations and coordination, he stepped outside to get some fresh air. The rain had stopped temporarily, and the stars peeked through gaps in the clouds. As he looked up, he felt a surge of pride, not for himself, but for humanity as a whole. "They're wrong about us," he whispered to no one in particular. "We're stronger than they think." Nearby, Sam emerged from a makeshift shelter, her clothes soaked and her face streaked with dirt. She noticed Daniel standing alone and walked over, offering him a tired smile. "You okay?" she asked. He nodded, just thinking about how amazing people can be when they have to be. Sam chuckled softly. "Yeah, well, don't get too sentimental. We've still got a long way to go." She was right, of course. The trials weren't over yet. But for the first time since the aliens' arrival, Daniel allowed himself a glimmer of hope. Maybe, just maybe, they could prove themselves worthy. Back aboard the alien ship, Commander Vrax continued to observe. Though his expression remained unreadable, a flicker of interest passed through his glowing form. Humanity was proving to be far more complex and resilient than he had anticipated. Perhaps their application deserved another look. By the fourth day, the simulated disasters showed no signs of stopping. The world was battered and bruised, but humanity refused to break. Daniel Harper had barely slept, his eyes bloodshot from staring at screens filled with data. Claire Mitchell's phone hadn't stopped ringing as she coordinated efforts across continents. And Samantha Brooks continued to move tirelessly through the chaos, her medical bag always at her side. Yet, despite their exhaustion, they all felt a strange sense of purpose. They were proving something, not just to the aliens but to themselves. It Was during one of these frantic moments that Daniel noticed something unusual. While analyzing seismic activity caused by the alien simulations, he spotted an anomaly deep beneath Earth's crust. At first, he thought it might be a glitch in the system, but further investigation revealed something far more intriguing. Buried miles below the surface was what appeared to be a massive dormant organism. Its presence pulsed faintly, almost like a heartbeat, and it seemed to react whenever the alien ship emitted energy waves. Daniel immediately called Claire and Sam to share his discovery. "I think this thing has been here for millions of years," he explained, pointing to the readings on his laptop. "It's alive, or at least it was. The aliens' technology must have awakened it." Claire frowned, her mind racing. "If it wakes up completely, could it pose a threat?" "It's hard to say," Daniel admitted. "But if it reacts defensively, we could be looking at something catastrophic. Not just for us, for them too." Sam crossed her arms, her expression grim. "So what do we do? Ask the aliens nicely to turn off their ship?" "No," Claire said firmly. "We need to investigate. If we can understand this organism, maybe we can use it to prove our worth to the Deathworld Alliance." The trio quickly formed a plan. With Claire handling diplomatic negotiations to buy them time, Daniel and Sam prepared for a journey into the Earth's depths. Using advanced drilling equipment provided by NASA, they would descend into the caverns where the organism lay dormant. It was a risky mission, but they had no other choice. The descent into the underground caverns was unlike anything Sam had ever experienced. The air grew colder and heavier with each step, and the walls glistened with moisture. Strange bioluminescent fungi clung to the rocks, casting an eerie glow that illuminated their path. Occasionally, they heard faint skittering sounds, likely small creatures disturbed by their presence, but nothing approached them. As they ventured deeper, Daniel became increasingly fascinated. He collected samples of the glowing fungi and analyzed mineral deposits embedded in the walls. "This place is incredible," he murmured, his voice echoing softly. "It's like a forgotten world." Sam didn't share his enthusiasm. She kept her focus sharp, scanning the shadows for any sign of danger. "Let's not forget why we're here," she reminded him. "We're not tourists." They finally reached the source of the anomaly, a vast chamber filled with crystalline tendrils that pulsed with light. The organism resembled a giant, living sculpture, its form shifting subtly as though breathing. It radiated a low hum that resonated in their chests, making it hard to think clearly. "This is it," Daniel whispered, his voice filled with awe. "It's beautiful." Sam stepped closer cautiously, her hand resting on the strap of her bag. "Beautiful or not, we need to figure out how to communicate with it, or at least convince it we're not a threat." Daniel nodded, pulling out a handheld device designed to emit harmonic frequencies. "I've programmed it to mimic Earth's natural vibrations," he explained. "Maybe it'll respond to something familiar." He activated the device, and a soft melodic tone filled the chamber. At first, nothing happened. Then, slowly, the tendrils began to retract, withdrawing into the central mass. The humming grew louder, almost musical, as the organism responded to the sound. "It's working," Daniel said, his voice tinged with excitement. "It's calming down." But their relief was short-lived. As the organism settled, the ground beneath them trembled violently. Rocks tumbled from the ceiling, forcing them to take cover. When the shaking subsided, they realized the disturbance hadn't come from the organism. It had come from above. Back on the surface, Claire faced a new challenge. Commander Vrax had summoned her to the alien ship for an update on their progress. Though she tried to remain calm, she couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong. The aliens' expressions were unreadable, but their body language suggested impatience. "You have demonstrated adaptability," Vrax said telepathically, his voice echoing in her mind. "But your species still lacks proof of true resilience. We grow weary of waiting." Claire swallowed hard, choosing her words carefully. Commander, there is something you should know. Beneath the surface of our planet lies an ancient organism one that may hold answers about why humanity has thrived despite countless challenges. If given the chance, we believe it will provide evidence of our worthiness. Vrax tilted his head slightly, intrigued but skeptical. Explain. Before Claire could elaborate, Lieutenant Zira interrupted. Commander, sensors indicate increased activity within the organism. It appears to be reacting to external stimuli. Vrax turned to Zira sharply. Is it hostile? Uncertain, Zira replied. But its awakening poses a potential risk to both Earth and the galaxy. Claire seized the opportunity. That's why we're investigating. If we can understand it, we can control it. But we need more time. Vrax hesitated, his glowing form flickering faintly. Finally he spoke. Very well. You have until sunrise. Fail, and we will consider your application closed. Meanwhile, deep underground, Daniel and Sam worked quickly to stabilize the situation. The organism's response to the harmonic frequencies had been encouraging, but the tremor suggested it wasn't fully at ease. Daniel adjusted the device, fine-tuning the tones to match Earth's natural rhythms more precisely. We're running out of time, Sam said, glancing nervously at her watch. Claire said sunrise, right? Daniel nodded, his brow furrowed in concentration. Just a little longer. I think I'm close. As the device emitted a final, resonant note, the organism reacted dramatically. Its tendrils retracted completely, and the chamber filled with a warm, golden light. The humming transformed into a soothing melody, wrapping around them like a comforting embrace. For the first time, they felt safe. It's peaceful now, Sam said softly, her voice filled with wonder. Do you think it understands us? I think it trusts us, Daniel replied, smiling faintly. Or at least it's willing to. Give us a chance. With the organism calmed, they hurried back to the surface, carrying samples and recordings to present to the aliens. Along the way, Sam couldn't help but marvel at what they'd discovered. You know, she said, breaking the silence, maybe this is why humanity survived. Maybe this thing influenced our evolution somehow, made us tougher, smarter. Daniel chuckled. Wouldn't that be ironic? All this time we thought we were alone, and it turns out we had help all along. When they emerged from the caverns, dawn was breaking over the horizon. Claire greeted them with a mixture of relief and urgency. Did you find what you needed? She asked. Daniel held up the samples triumphantly. Better. We found proof that Earth isn't just another planet. It's special, and so are we. The sun rose slowly over the horizon, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink. It was a beautiful sight, but no one had time to appreciate it. Daniel Harper, Claire Mitchell, and Samantha Brooks stood near the alien ship, their faces etched with exhaustion and determination. They carried evidence of their discovery, the samples from the ancient organism and recordings of its calming response to harmonic frequencies. Now, they just needed to convince Commander Vrax and the Deathworld Alliance that Earth deserved a place among them. As they approached the shimmering vessel, the ground beneath their feet vibrated slightly. The ship's surface rippled like water, and a section opened, revealing the tall, glowing figures of the aliens. Commander Vrax stepped forward, his presence commanding silence. Lieutenant Zira followed closely behind him, her expression unreadable. Claire took a deep breath and stepped forward. Commander, she began, her voice steady despite her fatigue. We've uncovered something extraordinary. Deep within our planet lies an ancient organism one that has likely influenced humanity's evolution. Its existence proves that Earth is not as tame as you assumed. Vrax tilted his head slightly, his glowing form flickering faintly. Explain. Daniel stepped up next, holding out the device he'd used to communicate with the organism. This creature responds to harmonic frequencies derived from Earth's natural vibrations. It's intelligent, adaptive, and deeply connected to our planet. We believe it's part of the reason humans have developed resilience over millennia," Sam added, her tone firm but respectful. "If you don't believe us, watch this." She played the recording of the organism's reaction to the harmonic tones. The chamber filled with golden light, the tendrils retracting peacefully. It was undeniable proof of communication. For a moment, there was silence. Then Vrax spoke, his telepathic voice resonating in their minds. "Your findings are intriguing. However, they do not fully address the criteria for membership. The Deathworld Alliance values strength, not just adaptability." Before anyone could respond, a sharp voice interrupted. Counselor Kren, one of the more skeptical members of the Alliance, stepped forward. His posture was rigid, his glowing form pulsing with irritation. "Enough of this nonsense," he said coldly. "These humans waste our time with theories and conjecture. Their planet is weak, their species unworthy." Claire clenched her fists, struggling to maintain her composure. "Counselor Kren, with respect, your judgment is based on assumptions, not facts." "If you'd allow us—" "No," Kren snapped, cutting her off. "I've seen enough. Humanity is arrogant, fragile, and unremarkable. Allowing them into the Alliance would be a mistake." The tension in the air was palpable. Daniel exchanged a worried glance with Sam. They had worked so hard, risked so much, but it seemed Kren was determined to shut them down. Even Vrax appeared, conflicted, torn between Kren's hostility and the evidence presented by the humans. Then, without warning, alarms blared inside the alien ship. Lights flashed urgently along its surface, and the ground trembled again. Lieutenant Zira turned to Vrax, her voice urgent. "Commander, the organism is destabilizing. Energy readings suggest it may awaken completely if provoked further." Kren sneered. "Let it wake. Perhaps it will rid us of these pests." Claire felt a surge of anger, but forced herself to stay calm. "Counselor, if that organism awakens fully, it won't just harm Earth, it could threaten the entire galaxy. Is that what you want?" Kren ignored her, turning instead to Vrax. "Commander, I propose we neutralize the threat immediately. Activate the containment weapon." "What?" Claire exclaimed, her eyes widening in horror. "You can't just destroy it." "It's part of our planet's ecosystem," Kren smirked cruelly. "And yet you claim to understand it? Your ignorance proves my point. You are not ready for the responsibilities of the Alliance." Daniel stepped forward, his voice rising despite his fear. "You're making a huge mistake. Destroying the organism won't solve anything. It'll only make things worse." But Kren wasn't listening. With a wave of his hand, he signaled to another alien technician, who began activating controls on a nearby console. Lights pulsed rapidly, and the hum of energy grew louder. Claire realized they were running out of time. "Daniel, Sam, we need to stop him," she whispered urgently. "I'm on it," Daniel replied, pulling out a small handheld device. He had studied the alien technology during their interactions and believed he could hack into their systems. "Cover me." Sam nodded, stepping in front of Daniel to block Kren's view. She crossed her arms and glared at the counselor, her stance defiant. "You're acting out of spite, Kren. Do you really think destroying an entire species will prove your superiority?" Kren laughed bitterly. "Superiority? No, human. This is about survival. Your kind is a liability, a risk we cannot afford." While Kren focused on Sam, Daniel worked quickly, his fingers flying over the keys of his device. The alien systems were complex, but he managed to bypass several layers of security. Sweat dripped down his forehead as the countdown timer on. The containment weapon ticked closer to 0, almost there. He muttered under his breath. Lieutenant Zira, who had been watching silently, finally intervened. She stepped between Kren and the others, her glowing form radiating authority. "Enough," she said firmly. "Kren, your actions violate the principles of the Alliance. We are here to evaluate, not annihilate." Kren scowled. "Stay out of this, Zira. You've always been too soft on primitives." Zira didn't back down. Instead, she turned to Vrax. "Commander, Kren's behavior is unacceptable. He seeks to sabotage this mission for personal gain. I recommend stripping him of his rank and halting the activation of the weapon." Vrax hesitated, his glowing form flickering as he considered Zira's words. Finally he spoke. "Kren, stand down. The weapon will be deactivated." Kren's expression twisted with fury, but he knew better than to defy Vrax directly. Reluctantly, he stepped away from the console, muttering under his breath. The technician halted the countdown, and the hum of energy faded. Claire let out a shaky breath, relief washing over her. "Thank you, Commander," she said sincerely. "We still have much to learn about the organism, but destroying it would have been a grave error." Vrax nodded slowly. "Perhaps. But your species must prove itself capable of handling such power responsibly. The Alliance does not tolerate recklessness." "We understand," Claire replied, "and will continue to demonstrate our worth." Later that evening, the team regrouped in a makeshift command center set up near Central Park. Exhaustion weighed heavily on all of them, but there was also a sense of triumph. They had faced betrayal, danger, and doubt, and they had prevailed. "So, what happens now?" Sam asked, leaning back in her chair. "We keep going," Claire answered firmly. "The aliens are still watching. We need to show them that humanity isn't just resilient, we're united. That means working together, no matter how hard it gets." Daniel nodded, his mind already racing with ideas. "And we keep learning about the organism. If we can understand it better, maybe we can use it to strengthen our case." Sam smiled faintly. "One step at a time, huh?" "One step at a time," Claire agreed. As they talked, the alien ship remained stationary in the park, its shimmering surface reflecting the fading sunlight. For now, the immediate threat was over, but everyone knew the trials weren't finished. Humanity still had much to prove. If they wanted to join the Deathworld Alliance, they would need to rise to every challenge thrown their way. And somewhere aboard the ship, Commander Vrax observed silently, his glowing form flickering faintly. Though he hadn't admitted it aloud, he was beginning to see humanity in a new light. Perhaps these fragile beings were stronger than they appeared. The days that followed were a blur of activity. With the immediate threat of the containment weapon neutralized, humanity's focus shifted back to proving their worth to the Deathworld Alliance. Commander Vrax announced that there would be one final trial, a direct confrontation with the ancient organism itself. Unlike the simulations and tests before, this challenge would be real, forcing humanity to demonstrate not only resilience, but also wisdom and restraint. Daniel Harper spent hours refining the harmonic frequencies they had used to calm the organism. He knew that success depended on precision. Even the slightest misstep could provoke it into awakening fully. Claire Mitchell coordinated global efforts, ensuring every nation contributed resources and expertise. Samantha Brooks prepared medical teams, knowing that any interaction with the organism carried risks. Together, they worked tirelessly, driven by the belief that humanity's future depended on their success. As preparations neared completion, the aliens revealed the specifics of the final trial. A team of humans would descend into the caverns once more, this time accompanied by Lieutenant Zira and several other members of the Alliance. Their mission was simple yet daunting: communicate with the organism and establish a peaceful connection. Failure would mean rejection from the Alliance and possibly catastrophic consequences for Earth. On the morning of the trial, Daniel, Claire, and Sam stood at the entrance to the caverns, joined by a small group of scientists, engineers, and diplomats. Above them, the alien ship loomed silently, its shimmering surface reflecting the pale sunlight. Lieutenant Zira approached them, her glowing form radiating an aura of calm authority. "Remember," she said telepathically, her voice echoing in their minds, "the goal is understanding, not domination. Approach the organism with respect." Claire nodded, her expression determined. "We understand. Humanity has much to learn, but we're ready." With that, the team began their descent. The journey into the underground caverns felt familiar yet different this time. The air was heavier, charged with anticipation. Bioluminescent fungi cast eerie shadows on the walls, and the faint hum of the organism grew louder with each step. Daniel carried the harmonic device, his hands steady despite the weight of responsibility resting on his shoulders. When they reached the chamber housing the organism, they found it unchanged. Its crystalline tendrils pulsed rhythmically, casting a soft golden glow. For a moment, everyone paused, awestruck by its beauty and power. Then Daniel stepped forward, activating the device. The melodic tones filled the chamber, resonating with the organism's natural vibrations. At first, nothing happened. Then, slowly, the tendrils began to move, extending toward the group. They didn't lash out or attack, they simply hovered, as if observing. Daniel adjusted the frequency slightly, fine-tuning the tones until the organism responded with a warm, pulsating light. "It's working," he whispered, his voice filled with relief. "It understands us." Sam watched cautiously, her hand resting on the strap of her medical bag. "Let's not get too comfortable," she murmured. "This thing is still unpredictable." Lieutenant Zira stepped closer, her glowing form flickering faintly. She extended a slender limb toward the organism, her movements deliberate and calm. To everyone's surprise, the organism reacted positively, its tendrils wrapping gently around her arm. It wasn't a hostile gesture, it felt almost like a handshake. "They're communicating," Claire said softly, her eyes wide with wonder. "It's incredible." For several minutes, the chamber remained eerily silent, except for the soft hum of the harmonic tones and the gentle rustling of the organism's tendrils. Then, without warning, the ground trembled violently. Rocks tumbled from the ceiling, forcing the team to take cover. When the shaking subsided, they realized the disturbance hadn't come from the organism. It had originated from outside the caverns. "What's happening?" Someone shouted over the chaos. Claire pulled out her phone, which buzzed incessantly with incoming messages. Her face paled as she read the updates. "The aliens detected another anomaly near the surface," she explained. "They think it might be a secondary organism or a fragment of the main one." Daniel frowned, his mind racing. "If there are more of these things, we need to act fast. Awakening multiple organisms could destabilize the entire planet." Zira turned to the group, her expression urgent. "You must stabilize the situation here while I investigate the surface anomaly. Trust me, the fate of your species depends on it." Before anyone could respond, Zira vanished into the shadows, moving with speed and agility that seemed impossible for her tall frame. Left behind, the team regrouped, focusing on maintaining their connection with the organism. Meanwhile, on the surface, Zira discovered the source of the disturbance, a smaller cluster of crystalline tendrils emerging from the ground near the alien ship. Unlike the main organism, this fragment appeared agitated, its tendrils thrashing wildly. Energy readings suggested it was reacting defensively to the presence of the ship. Commander Vrax joined Zira, his glowing form flickering faintly. "Can it be calmed?" he asked telepathically. "I believe so," Zira replied. "But we'll need assistance. This fragment is less stable than the main organism." Vrax signaled to several technicians aboard the ship, who quickly deployed devices designed to emit harmonic frequencies similar to those used in the caverns. As the tones filled the air, the fragment's movements slowed, its tendrils retracting slightly. Though it didn't achieve full calmness, the immediate threat diminished. Back in the caverns, Daniel and the others faced a new challenge. The main organism, sensing the agitation of the surface fragment, began to pulse erratically. Its tendrils withdrew sharply, and the chamber filled with a low, rumbling vibration. "We're losing it," Daniel exclaimed, adjusting the device. Frantically, "I need more time." Sam stepped forward, her voice firm. "Then buy yourself some. I'll distract it." Before anyone could stop her, Sam moved closer to the organism, holding up her hands in a gesture of peace. "Hey there," she said softly, her tone gentle despite the tension in the air. "We're not here to hurt you, we just want to understand." To everyone's astonishment, the organism responded. Its tendrils hesitated, then extended tentatively toward Sam. She remained perfectly still, allowing it to touch her lightly. The contact sent a jolt of energy through her body, but she didn't flinch. "It's okay," she whispered. "We're listening." Her bravery gave Daniel the time he needed. He recalibrated the device, playing a sequence of tones that matched the organism's natural rhythm. Gradually, the chamber returned to its previous state of calm. The tendrils wrapped gently around Sam, then retreated, leaving her unharmed. When Zira returned to the caverns, she found the team gathered near the organism, their expressions a mix of relief and triumph. "You succeeded," she said telepathically, her voice tinged with admiration. "The connection is stable." Claire smiled faintly, though exhaustion was evident in her eyes. "We couldn't have done it without teamwork and a little bit of trust." As they made their way back to the surface, the sun had begun to set, painting the sky in hues of orange and purple. The alien ship stood silently in Central Park, its shimmering surface reflecting the fading light. Commander Vrax awaited them, his glowing form flickering faintly. "You have demonstrated remarkable courage and ingenuity," Vrax said telepathically, addressing the entire group. "Your ability to adapt, cooperate, and show restraint has earned my respect." Claire stepped forward, her voice steady. "Does this mean Earth qualifies for membership?" Vrax hesitated, then nodded slowly. "Yes, you have proven yourselves worthy of joining the Deathworld Alliance. However, remember that membership comes with responsibilities. You will be expected to defend less fortunate planets and uphold the principles of unity and resilience." A wave of relief and joy swept through the team. Daniel exchanged a glance with Sam, both of them smiling despite their fatigue. Claire allowed herself a brief moment of celebration before turning to address the crowd that had gathered nearby. "This is a victory for all of humanity," she declared, her voice carrying across the park. "But our journey is far from over. Together, we will continue to grow, to learn, and to protect not just our world but the galaxy." As fireworks erupted overhead, lighting up the night sky, the alien ship began to ascend. Its shimmering surface glowed brightly, leaving behind a beacon of interstellar communication. For the first time in history, humanity was no longer alone. They were part of something greater, a coalition of species united by shared challenges and shared hopes. And somewhere among the stars, Commander Vrax observed silently, his glowing form flickering faintly. Perhaps, he thought, these fragile beings truly were stronger than they appeared. The days following Earth's acceptance into the Deathworld Alliance were filled with celebration and reflection. News of humanity's achievements spread across the globe, uniting people in a way no one had thought possible. Streets were decorated with banners and lights, and gatherings erupted in cities and towns everywhere. For the first time in history, humanity wasn't just looking inward, it was looking outward, toward the stars. Daniel Harper stood on the rooftop of NASA's research building, watching the alien beacon pulse faintly in the night sky. It was a small but constant reminder that Earth now belonged to something greater than itself. Beside him, Claire Mitchell leaned against the railing, her arms crossed as she gazed at the horizon. Both of them were tired, exhausted, really, but their hearts were full of hope. "We did it," Daniel said finally, breaking the silence. His voice was soft, almost reverent. "We actually did it." Claire nodded, a small smile playing on her lips. "Yeah, but this is just the beginning. Joining the Alliance means more responsibility than anyone realizes." Daniel sighed, running, a hand through his messy hair. "I know, it's scary, isn't it? One wrong move and we could lose everything we've worked for." "True," Claire admitted, "but I think we're ready. Look at what we've already overcome. If we can handle ancient organisms and alien trials, we can handle whatever comes next." Down below, Samantha Brooks walked through the bustling streets of New York City, her medical bag slung over one shoulder. She had spent the past few days helping survivors recover from the simulated disasters, but now she found herself with rare downtime. The city buzzed with energy, its residents celebrating late into the night. Fireworks lit up the sky, and music drifted from open windows. Sam paused near Central Park, where the alien ship had hovered only days before. The grass was still flattened from its presence, but otherwise, the area looked normal again. She couldn't help but marvel at how quickly life returned to some semblance of routine, even after such extraordinary events. "You look deep in thought," a voice said behind her. Sam turned to see Daniel approaching, his hands stuffed into the pockets of his coat. He looked as tired as she felt, but his eyes sparkled with excitement. "I was thinking about how much has changed," Sam replied, shrugging. "A week ago, aliens showing up seemed impossible. Now here we are, part of some intergalactic club." Daniel chuckled softly. "Yeah, crazy, right? But you know what's even crazier? We earned it. Every single person who helped during those trials played a part." Sam nodded, her expression thoughtful. "Do you think we'll ever get used to it? Being part of something so big?" "Probably not," Daniel admitted. "But maybe that's a good thing. Keeps us humble." Later that evening, Claire gathered with world leaders for a historic meeting. The United Nations headquarters buzzed with activity as diplomats from every nation discussed the implications of Earth's new status. For once, there was no arguing, no power struggles, just collaboration. Everyone understood the gravity of the situation and the importance of unity. As members of the Deathworld Alliance, Claire began, addressing the assembly, "We must commit ourselves to protecting not only our planet but others as well. This is an opportunity to grow, to learn from species far older and wiser than us." One leader raised a hand, his tone cautious. "What happens if we fail? What if we can't live up to their expectations?" Claire smiled faintly. "Then we try again. Failure isn't the end, it's part of the process. What matters is that we keep moving forward." Her words resonated deeply, earning nods of agreement from around the room. It was clear that humanity's acceptance into the Alliance wasn't just a victory, it was a call to action. In the weeks that followed, Earth underwent significant changes. Advanced technology provided by the Deathworld Alliance transformed industries, medicine, and communication. Renewable energy sources became the norm, reducing humanity's reliance on fossil fuels. Education systems adapted, teaching students about the galaxy and preparing them for future encounters with other species. But perhaps the most profound change was cultural. People began to see themselves not as citizens of individual nations, but as part of a global community and beyond that, as members of a galactic coalition. Art, literature, and music reflected this shift, celebrating themes of exploration, unity, and resilience. Daniel threw himself into studying the ancient organism, working alongside scientists from other planets to unlock its secrets. He discovered that it wasn't unique to Earth. Similar entities existed on other death worlds, influencing the evolution of countless species. The realization deepened his appreciation for humanity's place in the universe. Sam continued her work as a field medic, traveling to regions affected by lingering damage from the simulations. Her experiences had changed her, making her more determined than ever to help others. She often thought about the alien trials and how they had brought out the best in humanity. It gave her hope for the future. Claire, meanwhile, took on a new role as Earth's ambassador to the Deathworld Alliance. She traveled frequently, meeting with representatives from other planets and learning about their cultures. Though the responsibilities weighed heavily on her, she embraced them with grace and determination. Months later, Daniel, Claire, and Sam reunited at the same rooftop where they had celebrated Earth's acceptance. The alien beacon still pulsed faintly in the distance, a comforting presence in the night sky. So Sam said, breaking the silence, "What's next for us?" Claire shrugged, smiling faintly. "Who knows? Maybe we'll be sent on missions to other planets. Or maybe we'll stay here, helping Earth adjust to its new reality. Either way, we'll keep doing what we do best, working together." Daniel nodded, his gaze fixed on the stars. "It's strange, isn't it? For centuries, we wondered if we were alone in the universe. Now we're part of something bigger than we ever imagined. And we're just getting started," Sam added, her tone lighthearted. "Think about all the adventures waiting for us out there." As they stood together, watching the night sky, they felt a sense of purpose unlike anything they had experienced before. Humanity's journey was far from over, but for the first time, it wasn't limited to Earth. They were explorers, pioneers, and ambassadors all rolled into one, somewhere among the stars. Commander Vrax observed silently, his glowing form flickering faintly. Though he hadn't expected much from these fragile beings, he now saw their potential. Perhaps, he thought, they would surprise everyone, including themselves. And as the beacon continued to pulse in the sky, a symbol of Earth's newfound place in the galaxy, Daniel, Claire, and Sam knew one thing for certain. No matter what challenges lay ahead, humanity would face them together.